He said they're huge in
Okay,
cholesterol.
but statistically, you don't get high cholesterol from healthy food. That's not true. That's like someone telling you can get cholesterol from eggs. Eggs are loaded in cholesterol, but you don't get high cholesterol from eating cholesterol. You get high cholesterol from eating processed foods, which builds fat within your body. So that's not how you get high cholesterol. That is a farce. It's not true.
Yeah,
So,
I
know, but
and that's
I'm just
coming
telling,
from an MD.
So
we've been looking up vegan and plant-based sources of protein for her because she does strength train 6 days a week. And yeah,
that's just false information. It's because they're confused. The doctors are still confused a lot of times in nutrition. It has changed so rapidly, and when doctors go to school, they get this much nutrition. So a ton of their information literally comes from where we get our information on the internet, things we hear, things we see, right?
Just got a new book. I can't wait to read it.
Well, we're live.
We're just chatting.
I know, we're just chatting away here. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Healthy You. I'm Kim Martin, one of the hosts of your show, but I always have some expert guest and host with me, and our goal generally Wednesday morning at 8:30, but this week I wanted to go over to the State of the Schools address, watch Dr. Crott talk about that, so we moved it to today, Friday. It's Friday, so hopefully I don't talk about Wednesday. I'm going to be confused because it is Friday, but I'm kind of excited about this show. We're already getting ramped up over here talking about it. I'm so thankful.
I'm stuck between two
I know,
very
I'm
passionate people about food.
Poor guys, he's going to need a Xanax and some Advil when he's done.
So this is Tim Johnson. Hey, Tim. And so maybe some of you know Tim. He has does Peoria Life and in the neighborhood, right? And he actually is the founder of Widecast Studio, who produces our Healthy You show. And he is just going to let us throw him under the bus.
Yes, they are. He's going to run me over a couple of times, too.
Because we're going to be talking today about, can you be thin, appear to be thin on the outside, but yet still be overweight and have risk factors the same as someone who is overweight on the inside because of your lifestyle, what you eat, and things like that. And of course, I have my lovely, awesome manager from Curves who joins me on a pretty regular basis, Melissa Maubach. Thanks, Melissa, for being here.
You're welcome. I think Tim's been in the back listening to us quite a few times.
Every show I'm
and so now he's like,
yes.
uh-oh.
Some things are hitting home.
They are.
Well, let's just dive right in. So maybe you've heard the term skinny fat. That is actually a new medical term that they're talking about. And Tim, you feel like this, you could kind of fall in that category.
I do. People always say, you're so skinny. I go into my doctor's office all the time, and the nurses go, wow, are you a runner? And I kind of laugh. I'm like, no, not at all, no.
Only if someone's chasing me.
And only then, right?
Right. But no, I do run probably twice a year. Yeah.
So
I
twice
get up
a year?
and get motivated, and then I run. And, when I was a kid, I rode bike all the time.
Yeah.
And the older I get, my lifestyle I get busy, and it's hard to really go beyond that.
I know.
But people always tell me, boy, you look great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just fat on the inside. And I
You've actually said that.
I say that all the time.
Oh, my goodness.
Because my cholesterol's high.
All right.
I know that.
So your cholesterol's high.
Right.
We were just talking about, you haven't really had some of the tests that kind of predetermine if you could be what's considered skinny fat, right? So you know your cholesterol's high, but there could be some other factors too. Right. Generally speaking, just giving you the definition, what happens is to be termed skinny fat, you're out of balance on the inside. So you may be someone who exercises a lot, but yet it's walking or extreme aerobic exercise with no strength training. So it could be that you think, I'm very fit, I'm skinny on the outside, I restrict my calories very low, so I'm not overweight, and I walk 5 miles every day, fast as I can. And so that person could see or believe themselves to be healthy, and other people see them and they believe they're healthy, but they're out of balance on the inside, meaning they don't have as much lean muscle mass as they should. So their ratio is out of whack. It actually gives an example. It gives an example here where there's someone who weighs 127 pounds. Now, Melissa, have you ever weighed 127 pounds?
Maybe in like 5th grade.
Yeah, I think when I was 5.
I did from about 8th grade till almost college. I was about 125 pounds.
Yeah, I can't remember weighing 125 pounds, so I must have been about 5. I was overweight my whole, everyone knows my story. I was overweight as a child. But 127 pounds, and it shows their body fat mass is 47.2%. That is obese. That is considered an obese person. And so what happens then, the reason why is that they don't have the right amount of lean muscle mass that they should based on their weight. So they're out of ratio, so their body fat is high. And you may not be able to see it on the outside, but it's on the inside. And so it increases the risk factors of type 2 diabetes. You've seen thin people that have type 2 diabetes, which is brought on by diet and exercise, right? It increases your risk factor the same as someone who's overweight for a heart attack, stroke, and cancer by like 35 to 40%. So it's a real issue. But it's hard when when you don't look overweight. It's a little easier when someone, it's obvious on the outside that
it kind of drives you to.
Yeah, it's a motivation when you can visually see it. So help us understand what it feels like to walk in a thin body and people
because we don't know what that's like.
And people think you're healthy because you're thin and you're on the inside. You're like, if you only knew what I ate for breakfast this morning.
Or didn't eat for
or
breakfast.
Didn't eat for
That's
breakfast.
What Melissa gets on me all the time
I'm like,
about.
what'd you eat for breakfast? That's one of my first questions.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that question, and still,
Nothing?
I didn't eat breakfast today.
So you haven't eaten anything?
No.
And what time do you get up?
7 o'clock.
Yeah, you're pushing that.
Yeah, it's between 8:30 and 9 now. You haven't eaten anything. Wow.
So about 10 o'clock, 10:30, that's when I get hungry.
And what will you eat?
Whatever I can find at the time.
Right, because you're starving. Yeah. You even maybe get a little shaky because your sugar's probably low. Yeah. Maybe. Let's just talk about that really quick, okay? So, because maybe some of the listeners might be thinking, well, that's me. I don't eat breakfast in the morning. Mm-hmm. I don't eat. Well, what happens? So if you're a person who, you slept last night, right? You didn't wake up in the middle of the night and eat, did you?
No.
Okay. Just checking, because that changes things a little bit, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but most of us, if you're not working third shift and you went to sleep and you slept all night, you fasted. Right? So you've been fasting for 6, 7, 8 hours at least. And so then when you wake up in the morning, your blood sugars are going to be low. That's just natural. That when you wake up, your blood sugars are going to be a little bit low because you've been fasting all night. Now, when the longer you go without eating, the lower those blood sugars drop. So what happens, you woke up at 7, your blood sugar's a little low. Now, the longer you go, your blood sugar drops. Now, at 10 o'clock when you eat, chances are, if you're just going to be finding something, let's say even if you ate an apple, apples are good, right? They're natural sugar. So even if you just eat an apple, something healthy at 10 o'clock, those natural sugars, because your blood sugar is so low, is going to cause an instant spike. And so you're going to jack up and then crash. And when your blood sugar levels look like that puts you in an unhealthy state and a fat storing mode.
So I try and put food, actually I put food in the office that I think is good for me. Granola type stuff or, those are things that I try and leave around here when I do get hungry or I've got deadlines that I can't run out and go.
And it can be good for you, but it's what you're mixing it with. Like if you're eating nothing but apples, bananas, and granola all day, you're on a carb binge right there. It's still good for you, but it's kind of like, what do you eat with it? So like this morning for me, I had these little waffles, but they were protein filled. So that way I just like, otherwise I would just like have taken some peanut butter and smacked it on the top of them, or, had a hard boiled egg or something. But I just had 2 little waffles. I popped them in my toaster real quick and I ate them in about 1 minute. And I'm out the door, and they came that way, and then they natural section, they're little protein packed waffles.
Yeah, I like those, and you put some natural peanut butter
So good.
on
No,
there.
I didn't even put peanut butter on it, just a little bit of butter, and then I was out the door. And they're awesome.
It's quick.
Yeah, and like 260 calories with my butter, 300 at tops, and that's right in there, falls right in there. And then my snack, always, my purse, I'm a mom, protein bars, nuts, all this kind of stuff are in my purse. And then never miss lunch, next snack, dinner, next snack.
Well, you eat like
6
5 times.
times 6.
6?
I
At
eat 5
least.
times. She eats 6. She's constantly eating. I eat 5 times a day: breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and dinner. And that 5 to 6 times a day is how often a person should eat, and it's because of keeping your blood sugars balanced, which is what I was just sharing with you. So eating breakfast, breakfast is one of the most important things you can do. I just was coaching a girl this week. It was so cute. Cindy, she posted, she was like, for the first time she drinks coffee every morning with a little sugar and cream in there with no breakfast. She's thin. She's not overweight. She could be. Now, I'm not assuming. I'd have to check her numbers. And I don't want to assume you really fall in the category of skinny fat. We don't want to assume that until what I want to encourage you, Tim, and to encourage anyone who may, after hearing this show, feel like they might fall in this category, is to get some numbers checked so that you can actually find out for sure.
And
because
affordable ways to do that as
yeah,
well.
we're going to talk about it because we got the Wellmobile.
We have the Wellmobile that
out
stops
there.
in. It's totally free, and they prick your finger too. They don't have to draw like a big vial of blood. 12-hour fast, prick your finger, and you have your numbers within like 3 minutes. It is so awesome, and they're all over every day.
Pay attention. We'll have them here at Widecast next month.
Oh,
I
good.
don't have a date yet.
Yeah.
All right. So how would you, let's talk about what causes it and what are some factors. And a couple of things. Sitting all day. If you have a sitting all day job, you do not, right? You run around all the time.
I'm moving.
You're moving quite a bit. But a person who might be sitting all day, eating whatever you want to. So even if you're thin, eating whatever you want to. So let's say someone eats Doritos. Okay, well, Doritos, my daughter and I were just having this conversation yesterday. She's like, don't ever buy Doritos again. We cannot eat palm oil. Palm oil is bad. She's learning this. I'm like, I could have told you that. She's learning this in school, and then she comes and tells me, right? Because I don't know anything about nutrition. It's so funny. So I'm letting her go on, and she's telling me how they burn down the rainforest to get the palm oil, and it's causing all kinds of problems. But the bigger thing is it's a hydrogenated oil, and so it's trans fats. Okay, so you're eating Doritos, you're putting trans fats in your body that cannot be processed. Your body cannot break down a trans fat. Okay, so if you're eating a lot of trans fats, your body's just storing that. It is not, you don't poop it out, pee it out, or sweat it out. It does not come out. Once it goes in, it's there. So that could be a sign. So if you're eating a lot of junk food that could have hydrogenated oils in it, you're sitting a lot, and you're not exercising. That's a recipe for muscle loss, fat storing, and you may not see the fat on the outside because of genetics.
Yeah. It's that fat that kind of hugs the heart, and that's what you're talking about.
It's the fat that's around your heart, your lungs, everything. When they do a DEXA scan on you, they can see everything on the inside. And this is why before the days of a DEXA machine, which is this massive thing. It's not, well, not necessarily massive, but it's a massively expensive piece of equipment that they can now scan your entire body, and they can see the fat. They can see your bone density. They can see everything. So that's how they learn that, oh my gosh, here's this person who weighs 127 pounds, but look at all this fat around their lungs and around their liver. And, it's a fatty liver. When you're eating a lot of processed foods, your liver has to break that stuff down. And fatty liver, otherwise known as cirrhosis of the liver, used to be just an alcoholism disease because you're people who drink a lot of high, alcohol content, your liver has to break that alcohol down. So because you're overworking your liver, it causes it to become fatty liver, and then you get cirrhosis of the liver. But now people who've never touched alcohol are being diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver, even people who are not overweight, because of processed foods.
Oh.
Yeah, skinny fat.
Mm-hmm. And you were saying about that palm oil, it can be hidden as well, because if you carry right under 0% of like trans fat, so if it doesn't quite creep up to 1
or 50, like a half, 0.50.
they don't have to list it.
They
So
round.
like even in natural peanut butter, read the ingredients. If it doesn't say like peanuts and salt, sometimes it says peanuts, salt, molasses, palm oil. Well, because palms are natural. So it's like, oh, it's natural. It's so good for me. You have to flip that label over and read it. Mm-hmm. They're sneaky.
They are. Jiffy peanut butter says 0 trans fats, regular Jiffy. But if you read the label, it has hydrogenated oil. When you see the word hydrogenated, that's a trans fat. It just has 0.49 or less. So they can round it to 0. It's amazing. It really is amazing.
It's always been a mystery to me, people that run and having heart attacks. I hear about it. I know of a few people that they run, they're healthy, 40 years old, having a heart attack, and
they appear to be healthy, and sometimes it's just a birth defect that no one ever caught. So
that's genetic.
Sometimes it's genetic. So I don't want to assume that just because they were 40 running and had a heart attack, they weren't taking care of themselves, because healthy people, have genetic issues, and so your heart, a healthy person, you can be eating perfectly, strength training, exercising, running, and you could have super thin arteries that nobody ever caught. That's a genetic defect, so there are certain things that could cause that. However, also cholesterol, which is inflammation. The processed foods cause inflammation in your arteries. And so imagine if you just started scraping your skin, your nice skin, and you just start scraping until the flesh just got rough and, it's no longer. So now the cholesterol will stick to that and cause your arteries to clog. That's the inflammation in the arteries is caused by the processed food. If you don't have inflammation in your arteries, the cholesterol just flows right through. And your body, this is why what we were talking about, if you caught in the beginning, we were talking about getting high cholesterol from foods that have cholesterol in it, like eggs. Mm-hmm. They now know that is not true. Yes. You do not get high cholesterol from eating eggs. You get high cholesterol from eating processed foods. That's where high cholesterol comes, because you're eating high processed food, causing inflammation in the arteries. Now the cholesterol sticks to that, and that's where it all came from. So it's really amazing how far science has come and what we know. So you can eat eggs unless you're allergic to them. Eggs is I eat a lot of eggs, and eggs is a great source of protein. And my good cholesterol is amazing, and my bad cholesterol is low. So I eat lots and lots of.
We go through like
eggs.
3 dozen a week at our house.
Well, so that's someone who sits. But another example of someone who would be skinny fat is someone who severely restricts their calories. And so, I haven't looked at your menu, Tim, so I'm not 100% sure, how many calories you're eating. But how do you think you eat enough? Do you feel like you probably restrict calories? Not intentionally. You're not trying to restrict calories. You're just not eating very much.
I don't eat in the morning. I will eat early afternoon or or late afternoon, if I'll get this right. I do eat in the afternoons, the evening, and maybe late morning.
Okay, so late morning, evening lunch.
Yeah.
And do you eat a lot, or you think you eat a little, or
A decent amount.
a decent
just
amount?
A meal.
A meal?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're probably not
And I
severely restricted.
generally don't eat too much after 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
8 o'clock.
So if you know someone, or you someone who's only eating 12 or 1,300 calories a day, trying to keep your weight, a certain level. I know a lot, especially I know a lot of ladies who do that. They want to be small. They've always been small. They restrict their calories to 1,100, 13 maybe 1,300 square calories a day, and they walk 5 miles. Women like that, or men? Yeah?
Oh, yeah, quite a few.
Yeah. And so that's excessive amounts of cardio, restriction of calories, and minimal weightlifting. So they're not getting strength training. So then now they're out of balance, and that would be considered skinny fat. Someone who's actually been exercising with a lot of excess aerobics. It's kind of interesting to know that.
See, I've always thought, and you guys are kind of changing my thought process because I watch you all the time. Food, you said once, food is your medicine. And, I've always thought of, well, you eat food that is good, right? That tastes good. That's why you eat.
Right.
You don't think about the nutrition.
Right.
Yeah.
So I say this all the time. Food doesn't always have to taste good. Sometimes we need to eat it because it's good for you, right? But your taste buds do change. Would you agree?
Right.
They do. And then it's just a matter of how you make that food, like quote unquote diet food. We always have Chef Chris come into Curves and, whip up our diet food. And people are like, this has how many calories in it? Because it's how you prepare it too. It might not just be nuke it out of a box, and it's that convenience factor. If you were just to take just a little bit more time, instead of 30 seconds, maybe 15 minutes, it's how you prepare that food. They can make it so much different.
I want to talk about this because we talked about the fat that you can see on the outside and the fat that you can't see on the inside, right? So it says here, not all fat gets stored under the skin. Fat that people can see is referred to as subcutaneous fat. Okay, that's the fat on the outside that we can see that women are like, oh, I'm so fat, I need to lose weight, right? But there's a second type of fat, which is the worst of the two, and that's the visceral fat, okay? And that is when you're skinny fat. You likely have a lot of this second type of fat, and that is the fat, that visceral fat that is around your organs on the inside that you cannot see on the outside. So look it up. You can Google it. You won't probably be able to see this picture, but it just shows a little picture, that outside subcutaneous fat and then the visceral fat on the inside. And that's what they could see on the DEXA machine. And that's when they started saying, wait, there's a problem here. And then all these thin people started coming in and having issues like type 2 diabetes. And it's like, wait, but you're not overweight. Why do you have high cholesterol? Why do you have type 2 diabetes? Why are you having a heart attack? Right? Why are you having these symptoms that are generally found in obese people that appear to be obese? And then when they started when the DEXA machine came out and they started seeing that visceral fat, they're like, what the heck is all of this?
Yeah, and some of it is genetic and some of it is so much more. It's busy lifestyles, it's stress, it's, what we're eating and what we're putting in our bodies. And all that just in general just comes crashing down at some point.
And when
stress.
Stress is heavy for me.
Yes, you are high stress. You're an entrepreneur. You're opening a business from the ground up.
Real estate also. So,
yeah. And so you got a couple jobs, a family. You guys just went through a couple stressful things with some medical issues, right?
Yep.
And so stress, that cortisol is a stress hormone. It's a real deal, and it causes you to store fat when you have under high stress.
Our cortisol levels lower as we sleep. So the more we sleep, which we don't get that very much
Right.
either, the lower our cortisol levels go. So if you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, yours isn't getting very far. And then plus the stress of the day raises it even higher. So you need a few extra hours to bring it down, and a few other things that you do in your life that bring it down.
Yeah.
Reducing that stress, drinking your water, Tim.
You've been doing better
You've
about
been doing
that.
better?
I've been doing better.
Eating breakfast. I want you to start eating breakfast. You promise?
Oh, and it's on the air.
Oh, we need to start eating breakfast.
This is being
There are
documented.
some important blood tests that you need to have done to determine. So if you fit the bill like Tim and you are nice and thin on the outside, but you've had some medical concerns, or maybe we've been talking, you're like, oh, that's me. I sit all day and eat Doritos, but I only weigh 120 pounds. I'm thin, I'm not overweight. I've been so lucky. I can eat whatever I want. And really, it's a double-edged sword, because it may appear that you're lucky that you have these good genetics, but the truth is, without that subcutaneous fat that you don't see, you don't have a lot of motivation. Right? So if you can see it, it does kind of give you some motivation. So some tests that you need to have done. First and foremost, you need to get your body fat checked. We have a body fat analysis machine at Curves. I'll bring it to the show sometime so we can do it. So you need to get your body fat checked. See where it's at. You put in your height, you put in your weight, your age, and
Male or female.
And then it'll check to see where you are. So that's the first thing. A fasting blood sugar and glucose test. Normal is less than 90. Okay, so you need to see where that's at. Triglycerides, normal less than 100. Your HDL, your good cholesterol, normal is greater than 60, and your blood pressure 120/80. So those are some things that you need to have checked. The Well Mobile is coming.
They do all
If
those.
you're watching, find the Well Mobile. You can just get up in the morning, go wherever they are, and get pricked, and it's fasting, and you can see what your numbers are.
Yeah. For me, I know that my good is good and my bad is bad as far as cholesterol goes. So I have high bad cholesterol.
Yeah.
So
And that comes from processed foods, okay? And the way you're eating and the stress. That's where that's coming from. Now, granted, cholesterol can be hereditary, and so you can do everything right. I know if there's someone listening like, no, I strength train, I eat nothing but protein, I drink my water, and my cholesterol is still high, then the odds are that is a hereditary thing. So that could be a little hereditary too, but even still, you can keep it under control a lot of times with the right diet and exercise. Rarely does someone have to take medicine if they are doing the right diet and the right exercise. We got just a minute left. I want to go through the cure for skinny fat, okay? So if you feel like these are issues, these are some things that you need to be doing. Eat a low glycemic load diet. So
what does that mean?
That means you're not eating a lot of high glycemic foods like cookies, granola bars,
glycemic sugar.
or bread, pasta, things like that, okay? So you're eating lower glycemic fruits like berries, and not so much watermelon, okay? Watermelon's fine. It's just a little higher on the glycemic chart. Don't drink your calories. So no sodas, juices, sweetened drinks, and no more than 3 to 4 glasses of wine or alcohol a week with meals. So it's much better if you have your alcohol with the meal, so like a glass of wine with dinner. Avoid the deadly white powder, flour. Beware of frankenfood. Factory-made foods are often science projects.
I like that saying, frankenfood.
And that's like margarine, okay? Eat from the right plant. If it was made in a plant, stay away. If it was grown on a plant, it's okay. If it was made in a factory. Eat omega-3 fats, rich in foods. Get going, get strong. Strength train. You have to strength train. Take supplements and sleep. So we're out of time. We're gonna have to do another one.
Yeah, we
We're
will.
gonna see how we're gonna get you. We're gonna have to find out your
I
numbers and
promise
stuff.
to
We'll do a
start
before
the
and
habit.
after.
Yeah.
Get
All
all
right.
your numbers, and then we'll check in.
So be sure to post some comments, share, let us know that you watched us. Tune in. We'll be back next Wednesday morning. Oh, Mary Art Apple. Yay. Everybody loves Mary.
Yep.
I do too. All right. Have a rest of a good Friday. Awesome. I'll leave this with you.
PeoriaLife.com.